Hello, folks. Good afternoon if you're in the Midwest. Good morning if you're west of the Midwest. I'm out here in cloudy California today, so that's nice to see. But where's everybody else watching from? That's one thing we love to know. Everybody in the audience, we got a whole bunch of folks in the audience. Tell us where you're watching from. Let us know where you're viewing it, and maybe even why you're viewing it, what you're hoping to learn today. And we're going to be learning a lot. We always do here on Printavo University. What we do is we talk about a topic, and you guys can ask questions live. I want to tell you how to do that real quick. Up in the upper right-hand corner of the screen, you're going to see a chat box. If you click on the questions tab, you can ask a new question. That makes it real easy for us to find them. And when I say us, who do I mean? Well, I mean my lovely co-host. He's Printavo Customer Success Manager. It's Matt Marcotte. Hey, Matt, what's up?
Hello. I'm sorry I missed the last one. It was amazing, though. Well done, Nikki. Was doing some traveling with Printavo. Had a couple shows to do there, and then did some in-person implementation and training at a great shop out in Arizona. So sorry for those of you that I missed in the last one, but glad that Luke was able to jump in and slay as always. But yeah, super stoked to be back and really excited about today's conversation. This is one that we were a couple weeks back trying to figure out, like, hey, what's a good thing we haven't talked about yet? Because we're always trying to make sure that we're not just having this conversation just for conversation purposes. I mean, don't be wrong. I can talk to anybody forever. I love doing that. But we wanted to make sure that we're bringing actual value to everybody that's watching. So we brought up the idea of let's dive into the promotional product world. It was a no-brainer on who to talk to. So we reached out to our close buddy, Steven Farrig of Campus Ink, and his all-star that he's got working over there, and that is Yasmin. So with that, I want to introduce our amazing our guest, and I appreciate you joining in, Yasmin. So Yasmin, hello.
Hello. Hi, everybody. I'm Yaz. I currently live in Chicago. I'm originally from Boca Raton, Florida, so I saw some Florida people over there. I miss the sun sometimes too. But I work as a director of student sales and design at Campus Ink with Steven. And prior to that, was working at another promotional product organization. And I'm excited to, have a chat and tell you about all the fun stuff in the promo world.
Absolutely. Yes, I guess that's a great intro. How did you decide to get into the promo products industry?
Well, so I was a student designer at the University of Illinois, which is basically someone that works, we were doing custom orders, we were learning screen printing. So I worked with Campus Ink in college. And so I guess from there, my first job out of college was at an organization or a business that did promotional products as their main specialty, and then also screen printing on the side. So I had a year of experience at this huge, company that did a lot of stuff for companies like DoorDash, Instacart, Pepsi, a lot of really cool businesses. And I got a lot of really good experience there. And when I came back to Campus Ink a year later, it was almost like, okay, let's do this. Like rocket ship. Let's go Campus Ink. Let's get you on the promotional products world.
That's awesome. So they weren't doing too much promo stuff until you kind of jumped in and kind of helped. I didn't know that much. I mean, I know Steven quite well, but mostly from the screen printing side. I haven't really spoken too much about the promotional side. So are you kind of part of that impetus on why they are now branched out so far into every type of decoration, including all the promo item stuff?
I mean, to be humble, I would say Steven was doing a lot of promo before then. Now we're just doing it in a different way. So better efficiency strategies, we're trying to.
Steven's calling you out immediately, saying lies. I think he's trying to say that he wasn't doing as much, and that you are doing a lot of that and helped be that driving
I think
force.
That's what he would want to say. Yeah. So yeah.
Well, I love it. How do you tell us about that start? So when you came from that other company to Campus Ink, where did you start offering promo products? Tell us about that process.
So I mean, it was just natural for me working at this other company. We were doing a lot more promo than screen printing. And then going back to Campus Ink, we obviously do a lot more screen printing than promo. So it was an adjustment where I was like, okay, I got to get back into the screen printing world, checking stock, going on SNS, like learning about all the techniques of, printing and whatnot. And I was still not ready to let go of what I had learned at my prior company. And I thought there was a space where we could implement all these things instead of saying no or telling a customer we can't do this. It was more of like, let's figure out how we can do it as a different company. And so I just wanted to continue that. I mean, we have everything we need. We had all the tools we needed to be successful at selling promotional products. And I was like, well, let's do it. So I was taking the things I learned and kind of working, with whatever I could come up with to make Campus Ink be able to provide promotional products on a higher level.
And for those of you who didn't see in the comments, Stephen did actually drop some insight too, to kind of help us understand a little bit more about what Yaz was able to do with Campus Ink. Stephen humbly made sure to say that he was doing 1 to 2 orders a month of promotional items, to now doing 20 to 30 promotional items per month. That is a massive, massive increase. So thank you for being humble, and not being too much of an egomaniac at all. But I think you are underselling yourself a little bit and your abilities there. So that's very awesome to know how much that you're actually impacting with something. That's actually important for our watchers to understand too, because they're trying to look at different ways, especially now where we might possibly be running into some issues with shortages and different things. I'm sure the promo item world is also having shortages too, but if they're looking to expand on other items to kind of help offset costs of losing some business in certain arenas, this is definitely one that was worth us having this conversation with somebody as a power hitter like you. So that's awesome.
Absolutely. 15,000% growth there. So I gotta love those big numbers.
Hey, we're doing
well, yes, you mentioned that you said that there's tools that can increase promo product sales. Can you tell us about some of that? What were some of those tools you're thinking of?
Yeah. So one of which is a Sage membership. So Sage is basically a catalog of all of the products within the promotional product world. It's all by people that are licensed within this kind of industry or in this niche. They can kind of see what other suppliers are selling and prices, and you can Google, you can search anything on Sage and it will come up. So it's like your SNS, but like on a grand scale of the whole entire industry of promotional products.
I'm picturing like a Uline catalog. Is that what it is? Where you get this like a forest delivered to your house to like look through every single item, or like the back. Remember the old school comic books? Like you look in the back and like all the little tchotchkes are selling. And like, is that kind of what it's like? You just kind of like open like, ooh, look at all these random things, or is it like just you go online, you kind of like just browse through all the different things? What does that look like to actually be like a Sage member and have this like catalog, a physical catalog, or are you just kind of looking on a website with everything?
So it's all virtual. I don't think they want to cut down that many trees anymore. We're trying to be environmentally conscious. But so Sage is basically, it's a search engine hub. It's got all of those things that would be in that huge catalog, just virtually online. It's a web browsing platform where you can download it onto your computer. I use the one on the web browser. But you can search products, you can search suppliers, you can search place orders through it. It's just a very good tool for getting started and figuring out who is a good person to buy from, what is a good item to buy, and figuring out all of that nitty gritty.
Now, is there any kind of like metrics that are built in when you because Sage, ASI, PPAI, all these different things, you have to be a member, right? So there's a membership, a premium to pay to kind of be part of this kind of club thing to have access to this. When you are a member, so let's take Sage, for example, since you're bringing that up, do you have any kind of metrics within that you have any kind of like allowance to understand? Is there any kind of metrics of like, hey, these are popular items, these are different things, or are you kind of like to shoot in the dark going, I hope this one works? Or do you get any kind of additional information because you've got a paid membership usage where you kind of understand different things about your customers possibly, or about other vendors possibly? Is there more than just a big list of what you can buy to help you kind of focus on what you are buying?
Yeah, so this platform is extremely useful. It gives you all of the background information about your supplier. It'll give you contact information. It will even tell you what other companies rate this supplier as. So you can see if this is an A+ or a D- supplier. It'll give you direct contacts. It'll give you direct phone numbers, direct emails. So it's basically you're into getting full contact and full, customer service from that specific company. It'll also give you specific product information that you might not find on their website. So having this tool is extremely helpful in getting all of that background information. It's like having a login to SNS or Sandmar. Like you get all the goodies when you're logged in. When you're not, you can't see much.
Gotcha. Okay, so I've got another question. So I've run a shop in the past that was all ASI and all these things, and it was great. Now I've got a full-time great job with Printavo, but on this side, I've also got my print shop where I've got some buddies. We get to kind of make some cool stuff and kind of run a boutique style shop.
Totally.
I don't have a Sage account or an ASI PPAI account. So I might do something that might not be good, but I'm curious too if this is a good starting point in your perspective, kind of a pro in this world. Is it okay to like start off getting into the promo item world by just kind of doing something like a discount mugs or a Zazzle, or is that kind of more something that would be more of a hobbyist level? So I'll have people come through and I'll admit, like if someone has asked something that I don't have, I don't want to say no. It's an opportunity to give something, an experience or a product to a customer. I also like to make money, right? I think we all do. So I'll usually go on there. I'll try to find the best thing, kind of browse a little bit, purchase it, have it sent to me, kind of QC it, double check, right? And then I'll upcharge that 20%, 30%. Would you say that's an okay place to start, or would you recommend just kind of going straight into getting a Sage account or something along those lines?
I absolutely think using the resources that you can find on a Zazzle or Discount Mugs is a great place to start. If you don't have a large order, if you're not like completely in the promotional product world, you don't have customers asking you for weird things or a lot of weird things, getting started and a place like that is totally acceptable and totally fine. We use Sticker Mule all the time. I know Steven said that. Like,
oh, the comments are blowing up about Sticker Mule, which shout out to Sticker Mule. They are fantastic.
Sticker Mule, and we'll start there's some orders that will come through, and I will not be able to find anything on Sage that I'm comfortable with, and I'll go to Google and I will find a good supplier that I think will do a great job at the order. So, if Sage, if you're not getting that many inquiries about promotional products, Sage might not be the thing that you need to invest in. But if that's something you want to start growing and you want to start, if you're getting a lot of customers asking for lawn chairs, pens, all the random things, Sage is a good thing to have. But if you're getting just like the mug, the very small thing that only happens a few times, you can find a Zazzle or Discount Mugs, and that's totally fine.
Just want to shout something out. No, thank you. I appreciate that. So I know I'm not kind of cheating the system using one of these other open marketplaces, but Chip Danby dropped something in the comments I want to make sure everybody else watching is aware of. I have not heard of this place yet. I'm already looking up on another screen. Promomarketing.com apparently offers free search, and you have some access to all your soft goods and hard goods suppliers. So definitely sounds like another place to double check. We got another person who's saying they also are a big fan of ASI. In their view, they like it a little bit more than Sage, but it sounds like a lot of folks are having some sort of an outlet to offer promotional items. So I think that's the key part to be aware of. So that's awesome.
Totally. Yeah.
Let's just sum up and tell me if I'm on the right track here. Whether we're talking about Sage, ASI, promo marketing, what we're doing with these promo product orders is you're finding a supplier who can make it. And yes, you made the great point that as long as they can make it, it doesn't matter where you find them, if it's Google, but you're finding the supplier who can make it, you're marking it up and selling it to the end customer.
Correct.
Is it really as easy as that? Is it really just buy a thing, mark it up?
Yeah, and that's a good question because it never is, right? It's never as easy as, buying it, marking it up, and that item can come to a customer and it's busted or, everything is wrong. The colors are off. And so what's that? You're working with a supplier that sucks. And you put your trust in them, you paid them, you marked everything up, you got your money, but now the customer's not happy. So what's really important is to know, is your supplier trustworthy? Are you going to someone that if you complain and you say, hey, you messed up my order, will they fix it for you? Will they make it better? So finding the proper supplier is almost like the name of the game.
Now, when you're with Sage or ASI or one of these bigger companies, possibly you're kind of having like a premium to join in, is that a little bit easier, right? Because like if I'm just a random random guy on Zazzle trying to order something, I might have a harder time getting like pushing back, being like, this is not what I expected it to be.
Yeah.
Not saying, I mean, I've actually had plenty of times where like, once or twice where they actually did take care of it, no problem, but
Yeah.
it still might not be as effective or efficient when you're somebody who's running 20 to 30 of these jobs a month that doesn't have the time to kind of go back. Do you find that if something isn't how you want it to be, do you think that's a little bit of an easier experience to kind of wade through when you are actually part of one of these larger company promotional item things?
Absolutely. And that goes back to the information that they give you. So you now have a direct contact, you now have a direct email to get in touch with, and you can hold them accountable. Hey, I pay for this membership and you are treating me like poo, right? Like you are not replying to my calls or my
How you say it, Yaz? Do you say it so PC and say poo every time? I hope you say poo.
Yeah, you know what? I'm being PG for this, I guess. If this is going to be on YouTube, I got to be PG. But I mean, that gives you an opportunity to leverage and be like, hey, you messed up. And you know what, though? It might have been your fault because you could have looked at their rating on the Sage membership and saw that they were a D-rated company. You know?
Okay, so there's a whole little rating system too.
Yep.
So you kind of like streamlined into like a much easier Google, like you kind of said. It's this big hub where you can see all the products you can make, and you can see who can make them, and then you can get based off like I'm assuming a star rating review type thing, and kind of see if they're a viable option for you. And that helps kind of cut the poo out of the equation as often as possible, because that can be my thing, right? Like I know Zazzle, I know Discount Mugs in these places because I found them on Google. I couldn't, my first couple jobs, I'm like, I have no idea if they're good, but I like the price. Let's see if it works. This sounds like it makes things a lot easier to be able to qualify if it's going to be a good product. Like you said, if you choose some with a bad rating, you're kind of asking for it, right?
Yeah. And what I think I love about this platform is my ability to get in contact. And I've said this before, like to get in contact with someone immediately. Like I need to make sure that everything that my customer is asking for can be done by a supplier. I don't want to know when the package shows up at their door that they weren't able to do something that I asked for. And on a Zazzle or Discount Mugs, like I'm not sure if they're going to be able to get all of these things that I'm asking for and get them done properly. Whereas if I have a contact, I can call them and I can make sure triple check that my order is going to be the way that I asked for it to be. So having that contact is huge.
So I got a quick question I want to jump in with. Chris from the Nile asked a question, and he's saying, do you have a promotional supplier that lets you make a custom website to add to yours, such as SNS or Alpha does for screen printing, similar to what relentlessmerch.com does for promo? I'm not sure if you know Relentless Merch, but is that something that you're aware of that they have an option for?
So Steven just put in the comments, but we actually did this at Campus Ink. We brought over the catalog from Sage into an external catalog that we can show our customers. We made it called 217 Ink, 217 being the area code of where our location is. And basically a customer can browse this like they could any other, merchandise catalog online. And all the prices are marked up a percentage that we want to mark them up. And it's the whole entire catalog of Sage.
I just went to it, and I cannot let my stepkids see this because that first line's nothing but these damn fidgets, these pop and play things. I don't understand. I don't mean to go off topic, but I do not get it. All the toys I was like pissed off my grandma got me when I was 7 is like all the kids want to play with these days. It makes no damn sense whatsoever, but they love them.
They love
but this
and everything. Yeah.
And I'm just like, why? What's it do? Like you pop it. I'm like, bubble wrap is way cooler. What the hell? Anyways, this is awesome. This 217ink.com is awesome. So that answers I think Chris's question perfectly. So thanks for that.
It's worth it too. I mean,
really,
oops, sorry.
Really interesting segue. Don't worry. What are people buying? If they're buying poppers and fidget spinners, what are the products you are finding people are buying? What are you selling, and what are you able to see that people want to buy it and then make a good margin on it?
Yeah, people love drinkware. I mean,
we like to drink. No,
I sell mugs and tumblers and all that stuff more than anything. And so that's something that I love to market to people. Like I know a perfect, tumbler. I know a perfect tumbler within your budget. So people love drinkware. People love anything that's good for giveaways when you're going to a convention of whatnot or whatnot. A koozie, pens, anything that's going to stick with whoever you are giving it to for a long period of time. I think what's cool about a promotional product is the longevity of it. Obviously, we're all in t-shirts here. We know about the approximate time a t-shirt lasts. Promotional products can sometimes last longer than that. So it's a good investment when you're buying the correct thing.
So one thing that Stephen dropped in the comments, I want to make sure everybody's aware of too, is some people are already asking some questions about like, hey, how much is this going to cost me, right?
Yep.
So Stephen dropped in there, it's roughly $1,000 a year. That includes your membership. That might be just, I think that's just for the website and then the membership too. So realistically, $1,000 a year for a business is not that big of an investment, to be completely honest.
When you're making $1,000 on an order and alone, like it's already worth it.
All right. I love it.
And I mean, I can easily say when you are dealing with promotional products and you're buying in bulk, which is how usually you purchase promotional products, it's easy to get to that 1,000 mark if you're pricing correctly and you're doing everything right.
How many items are in a usual order for you? Like, what is kind of like that span look like? Like, what do you consider if someone hits you up and is looking for something that would land in the promotional item world? What do you have as a minimum order, and then what is your average order usually?
And that's a great question because it depends on the product, right? So if someone's buying some speakers, JBL speakers that are $80 a pop, minimum order is like 6. Like, cool. But if someone's buying some pens, I'm not taking anything less than 200 to 300 pieces of pens.
Gotcha.
I mean, you can't, I'm sure you can find out there a place that makes you 25 pens. I'm very sure of it.
Zazzle and discount mugs.
There you go. But so how much are you making off of that? And is that worth your time? And that goes to qualifying the order. So you have to figure out, okay, time is money. If I spend a lot of time on this and I'm only making like 20, $30 off of it, is it worth it?
So how do you tell, and I'm really glad you talked about that. And that's something that I think a lot of people have a hard time with, not only in promotional items, but like in work in general, t-shirts, printing, DTG, all those things is qualifying an order. So how do you, a pro at this, if someone wants to get promotional items and they're just asking for something that's not worth your time, how do you let them know they're not like quite qualified for what you'd want to spend that time with? How do you handle that sensitive subject?
Right. And I think it's just being transparent and letting them understand kind of the situation. So if someone's coming up to me and asking for 25 pens, immediately I can't tell them I can do that because I actually don't know Supplier through Sage, through who I work with, who I trust that can do 25 pens. And so I'm letting them know, hey, the minimum here is 150. And if that's the case, fine, we can make something happen, but this is the price. And so I make sure that that price is worth that time or that order, if it's a small order. If I cannot do their order because I don't know someone who does 25 pens that I can trust, I will gladly tell them, here, head over to Zazzle. Here, head over to Sticker Mule. I think this might be better for your project. And it's not in a way that deters them, but it's more of like, this is what I think is going to work best for you, and it's going to save you some money. And I think this is going to be best. And, let me know if you need this or this or this instead. I'm happy to help you with that. And
so you're not just chasing the work to try to like square peg, circle hole. You're actually letting them know like, hey, this doesn't really fall in the scope of what we do, but here's some points of insight to help you achieve what you're asking for, which it sounds like actually helps build trust in you, as opposed to you saying like, look, sure, I'll quote that, and you do a less than minimum, making a pen cost $9 each pen for 25 items, right? Now they're gonna be like, okay, well, you're just trying to pull a fast one on me, make a quick buck. So it almost sounds like in your qualification process, you're being open and honest and building that trust relationship with the customer. And then when they do need to have what is a qualified order for you, then you can help them out. I think that's the perfect way to handle that. And I think a lot of companies that I see, at least in the screen printing world, they're afraid to do that. They're afraid to say the nice no, and instead they're going ahead and they're saying, I'll quote that for you, and then they're doing less than the minimum, which now means they already know they're not going to get the order because it's going to be too expensive, and now they're wasting their own resources of the time and capacity to even get that no, right? Which seems like a really, really long way to get a no that you've invested way too much time and effort in.
Exactly.
When I think your methodology is much wiser to say, like, look, that's not a great fit for me, but you can do it on your own. Check these places out.
You
When
can
you have
do
an
it
order
on
of
your
X, Y,
own.
Z, yeah.
I love that. You can do it on your own. I feel like that is so much better than saying no. Like, here is a resource for you to literally sit at your computer and get it done. And I love telling people that they're capable of this too, because then they come back to you when they aren't capable of something, right? They're like, oh, I trust her. She told me that, like, she gave me insight. She kind of like helped me out. But now I can't screen print 100 shirts, but I know someone who can, and I liked her because she was honest with me.
Well, that's
Yeah,
huge.
So you're talking about qualifying people, telling them if they're not a good fit. But once you figure out someone is a good fit, you have a vendor in mind.
Yeah.
You have a strategy to try to upsell them on other products. I'm thinking in my head, like, you know, if I'm buying pens, maybe I want to buy stickers too. Or how do you just give the person what they're asking for? Or do you say, hey, here's what 10 other customers have bought, and then show them other products? What's your strategy there?
That's a really good question. And I think it depends, once again, on the customer. So I work with a lot of high-end customers that are looking for specific things within a specific time frame and are kind of like, very, narrow-minded. Like they need one thing and done. But if I have someone who's more open-minded or maybe doesn't realize that I can do more than just pens or mugs, I can do a wide variety of things, that is something that I would suggest to them. Be like, hey, check out our catalog. I can do this and this and this. Like, do you think that would be a good opportunity for your event for us to do something like that? So it's reading the customer again, but it's nice to be able to have those assets from Sage, from an application like ASI, to be able to tell someone, not only can I do this, but I can also do this, and it's really darn good. So it's just up to feeling out the situation, in my opinion.
You got a great question that I think is really relevant from Daniela. A really good question, Daniela. She's wondering, do you have recommendations for streamlining the quoting process for faster quoting when dealing with all the different distributors and product specs and costs? So long story short, do you have recommendations for streamlining quoting?
I totally do. And this has been a work in progress for quite some time. And I've realized, it's a cluster. When you have someone trying to order 5 different things from 5 different suppliers, you're sending out 5 POs. It's exhausting and you get things mixed up and it's difficult. So I created a template. I mean, most people use a PO or an invoice sheet. I have a template that is attached in my signatures and my email. And instead of ordering through Sage, which Steven, my boss, likes to do, I like to email directly to the orders at Hit Promo, Primeline, etc. And I will CC whoever I need to CC. And it's a template that tells them exactly what I'm looking for. The name of the item, the color, the imprint color. Are we using a specific, Pantone for that imprint color? When do I need it by? Am I shipping blind? Who am I shipping it to, etc. So it's a very detailed report, and that maybe you don't get on a normal invoice or PO, and it just clarifies things when you're talking to a specific supplier. So I have questions in there like, if it doesn't, so some suppliers, they ask if you want a proof. They don't just give you a proof automatically. They'll ask you, do you want a proof? And unless you notify on that PO that you want a proof of your item, they won't give you one. And so that's something that I add in there to make sure, streamlined, everybody knows I want a proof always, right? So that email signature saves me so much time, saves my butt a lot, just having everything double checked. And that's how I personally do it. I obviously came from a bigger company that did promotional products nonstop. They did it a very different way. They used Oracle, NetSuite, and it just automatically boop, 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 spit an invoice out. So we don't use that. We're kind of old fashioned here, which I like because I have a lot of control and I have a lot of ability to make changes and edit when I see things that are not working. But it's up to what resources you have, what you feel comfortable with. Right now, I feel comfortable with emailing someone directly and then knowing that, okay, I can see on my emails whether they've seen it or not. So, it's preference partially, and then also whatever works best for you.
So awesome, by the way. Thank you for
Yeah.
that deep dive. I've got to ask a question. So Stephen in the chat has said that Yas sold kits and gift boxes that include tons of products, and it saved us during COVID. I got a couple people asking some questions about that, and I was curious as heck about it too. So can you run us through what those kits or he's got quotes on those, so kits and gift boxes, what those were for, what you put in them, what was the outcome desired, and was that outcome met, surpassed, or what did that turn into for you folks?
I think it was a really awesome opportunity for a customer who wanted something extremely specific to get exactly that. And so these kits are basically bundles of items that they will put in a custom gift box with confetti, maybe like a flyaway paper, and they give it out to recipients that want them or they're giving them to. We drop shipped a lot of these. We also shipped them in bulk and they gave them out separately. But we were doing these for a lot of universities. We did these for Michigan State, the University of Illinois. We've done these for a couple companies in the Champaign-Urbana area. They're decently expensive, so that's an opportunity for you to make a good profit margin. And people understand that there's a lot of work that goes into them, so they're ready to pay for that. These boxes can include a tumbler, a shirt, maybe like a couple pens, maybe a mask. We were doing a lot of mask gift boxes to people coming back to work or people that were coming back to school. And I think it was a good way for us to show what we're capable of and for other people to show off, a item that was exclusive or important. We did custom boxes as well. We've got a couple suppliers that do custom boxes. And so it's a very personal and unique experience to gift something that is fully customized. And we don't do just 12 of them. We do 50 to plus because it's a lot of work. You have to pack them. You have to make sure everything's arriving on time. You have to make sure because you got to pack them. So all of the promotional products have to come from that warehouse to your warehouse for you to pack and then for you to drop ship.
So you're doing all the kitting yourself. You're getting tumbler from X, you're getting mask from Y, you're getting all these. So you got a lot of moving parts. You're getting them in the facility, then you're putting the labor and time into actually kitting those, getting them all put in the boxes, special boxes, then sent out. Definitely sounds like a premium service and premium product.
Absolutely.
But it also sounds like a profitable option to also do. Do you ever utilize those things? Like, have you ever said, you know what, we're going to try to go after business XYZ. Let's put some promo kits together and just go give them as an actual gift to these places to kind of get you in. Is that something that you folks have done or would recommend doing to people that are trying to wow a potential customer?
I've done that at my old company before, quite a lot. Just sample gifts, one-offs. I haven't done it with Campus Ink just yet because we are beyond swamped. But when you're looking for business, that is a great way to spend $50 and get something customized for them and send it over and be like, here's a gift. We can do these if you're interested in ordering some more, but it's on the house. And so doing that lets them know, oh, wow, like they can do something so beautiful and great like this. We'll go to them next time. I would do we were required to send over spec samples to like 5 different contacts every month, or maybe 2 or 3 different contacts every month at my old company. So it's a good way to entice and get business if you are looking to put your budget towards that.
So I got a question from Victoria. What does your timeline usually look like for getting boxes sent out? So I don't know if that's more of like a full timeline from order approval to actually let's ship these out. What is that average turn time? And let's pretend that COVID doesn't exist. And what does that turn time look like when things are a little more predictable for timelines?
I like to say 8 weeks, buffer it as much as I can.
Under promise, over deliver?
Yes, always. And the reason I say that is because I don't know if my promotional products are going to come in late. I don't know if there's going to be a bump in the road. There usually is a bump in the road. And then it does take about 2 weeks for our production team to get everything ready and together. Sometimes more on the 3-week side. So as much time as I can allot for, I try to just always over. And if there is a deadline, I'm rushing. I'm making sure there's production time for our team to kit everything. I'm double checking. So it's it's a process, but I always like to tell people it takes longer than it should.
Perfect. And everybody, if you have questions, do me a favor. If you could put it in the questions area, it'll be a little bit easier for me to catch. So I've actually another question now.
Yes.
For those promo giveaways, are you putting their logo on them or your logo? She says, sorry if it's a silly question. That's actually a great question because I'm curious too. Like, if I want to go wow a company, is it a little too bold for me to take their logo without their approval and put it on a bunch of stuff and walk in and give it to them? I mean, I'm not selling it, so I'm not really doing anything that's illegal or like against their best interest. But can that be perceived as kind of a little bit too bold to be like, I made some stuff with your logo? Or are you kind of helping market yourself in that instance and putting your information on there saying we could do this for you too? What's your thought there? Yes.
That's an awesome question because it's exactly at my old company. We would do swag bags of our things. So anything that was branded with our logo on them. And then we would include one or two things with their logo on them. So it was kind of a combination of both to be like, hey, like we made this special thing for you, but also here's a swag bag of all the other things that we can do with our logo on them.
I see.
So it's not a silly question at all. It depends on who you're trying to entice. Maybe it's a friend that works at another company. You'll give them a swag bag with your branding on it, and they'll be like, oh my gosh, look at this stuff. And maybe there's someone that knows who your company is. And so it's not a random stranger getting just like, Campus Ink things. But if it is someone that you don't know or you're trying to win over, it's always good to do things personal. People love personal things that are geared towards them. So I guess it again depends who you're talking to. Do you know this person personally? Will they enjoy a Campus Ink mug or will they look at that and throw it away?
I will enjoy it. Feel free to send me a swag bag. Thank you.
We're getting really great thoughts about this, but I kind of would like to hear it in chronological order.
Sure.
Yes, if I called you up, said I want to get 100 swag bags for my company, what would it be like on your end? Walk us through that process. It sounds like it could be as long as a 2-month process, so it could be really involved.
Mm-hmm.
What does it look like to really bring an order from start to finish?
Yeah. So an order from start to finish does take on average 2 weeks if someone does not know what they're doing or what they want, right? Like in the t-shirt world, if someone doesn't know what design they want, they don't know what their budget is, they don't know what t-shirt they want, that's a whole back and forth process for a while. And the same thing goes for the promotional products. If someone doesn't know what they want, you're going back and forth for at least 2 weeks. If someone comes to you and says, hey, I looked on your website and I saw this tumbler and I love it. Can I get a quote for 50 of those with this imprint on it? That takes maybe an hour to work up. You're asking them, where are we shipping them to? Is there anything else you need? Are there any requirements that you're looking for? Are you using the proper PMS color? Or are we just doing these one color? So you're asking the questions to get all of your information down pat in the very beginning, like any other custom order. From there, sending over the invoice. Once they pay it, then I process. I never process anything without payment. And the processing steps kind of look like this. So for me personally, I'm going on Sage. I'm looking up my supplier's order email or sales email, and I'm adding that to my email, to whatever. And I put in the subject line, order request, PO, XYZ, and then I kind of say what the order is. And I'm using my template that already exists on my signature kind of thing. I'm pressing, okay, promote ordering template. And I'm filling out all the information, the item number, the item name, the item color, how many, what color imprint are we using? Who are we sending it to? Are we shipping it blind? What is the in-hands date? Is it a rush? How are we shipping it? So all of these questions that I have outlined over so many years of just ordering, or not years, but a couple of years of ordering promotional products, I'm like, okay, this is all the things that I need to know. Once that gets sent to my vendor, to my supplier, it takes them approximately 24 to 48 hours to get back to me and say, we've confirmed, we have your email. We're going to get this prepared for you. From there, and that could take anywhere up to 2 days. From there, they get back to me and they say, here's your invoice. Let us know if it looks good, or here's your proof. And that can sometimes take another 2 days to probably get the proof. So every supplier is really different in their timeline of events. So some people get back to you right away. Some people use their 24 to 48 hour time period. And so you're getting an invoice. You're getting like, okay, this is how much it costs. You're prepaying if you don't have anything on file. You're approving the proof. But before you approve the proof, you have to send it to your customer. Make sure everything looks good. You don't want to get stuck with something that looks crappy because you approved it yourself. That's happened to me too many times. And so you're sending it back to your customer to make sure it all looks good. And that can take who knows how long, because nobody gets back to you in the nick of time.
And real quick, I hate to interrupt, but that's just you're just using the Printavo art approval process of that spot, I'm assuming then.
So
and it's okay if you don't. I'm just curious. How do you do it? You don't have to use Printavo for the answer. I'm just curious. How are you doing?
That is a really good question, because we have not locked down the way we want to use Printavo statuses for promotional products.
All good.
So when something is a promotional product, we have a status that says promo, need to send to vendor. And then once I've sent it to vendor, it says promo in process. And then once the vendor is done with it, then we say promo shipped. And then I go to bulk order delivered, which is our other statuses.
Great answer. Awesome. Sorry, please continue where you're at. That was perfect. Yeah. Thank you.
So I'm going on a long spiel, so please pause me if necessary. So once I get approval from my customer, I approve it, and then it gets sent to production. And that, after maybe like 4 or 5 days, 4 days, is when the business period, the production time starts. It's always after the art approval. So it takes about 4 days after you've paid an invoice for us to get an art approval, to get payment, inputted and everything, for them to start actually producing the order. So I'm always planning ahead. I'm always like, okay, I know it's going to take me 4 or 5 days to actually get this pushed through. If it's not a rush order, or if I'm not like asking for the specific questions. And so once that order goes into production, it's there, and then it's done. And when it's done, they ship it out. And I'm constantly asking the supplier, do we have tracking? Do we know it's on the way? You're following this whole entire process. And so once it gets into the tracking stage, you're looking, okay, is it going to arrive on time for their in-hands date? And then, you want to make sure it delivers and arrives, and you're checking with your customer, hey, did you get everything? Does it look good? And if it doesn't look good, that's a whole nother thing. So
that was my next question. Two questions. What if it doesn't look good, or what if it doesn't arrive on time?
Yeah. If it doesn't look good, or if it doesn't arrive on time, that's why this is sometimes a really difficult thing to do, is because you have to be so on top of your communication with the supplier, because they will go ghost. They will just stop replying to you while they're in the middle of production, or, if you're not checking in with the order. So it takes a lot of time. And also that goes back to qualifying your supplier to make sure that they're someone that will actually come through at the end. I multiple times during the timeline of an order will check in with the supplier to make sure that we're on track. I will say, hey, are we still good for this being delivered at this date? When is the ship date? When are we shipping this out? So then I know, okay, this supplier is located in Texas. We're trying to get it to Illinois. It's going to take maybe 3 days. Okay, I know that we're going to be okay on time if they ship it out on this day, even if there was a delay. So throughout this whole entire timeline of an order, I'm keeping track on the days until my customer needs it, to make sure that they aren't falling short anywhere. And so when things do get delivered late, I usually am the first person to know, because I'm keeping such a good eye. So I'm like, okay, they're late on shipping this a day. This is going to be late. I'm either going to have to reroute or change the shipping type to UPS, like express day, or I'm going to have to tell the customer they're going to get it a day late. And so that whole thing is one thing. If an order comes and it's messed up, that's another. That's ground control, right? Like, take pictures. I always tell my customers, take pictures. I want to see the box that came in. I want to see the mess ups. I want to see the breakage. Like, show me everything, so then I can go back to the supplier and say, this is how you delivered my order. It's completely incorrect. I'm either requesting you to reprint or give me a refund. So, it depends on what the situation is when something comes damaged. But I I want full accountability from the supplier, and I will not stop until I get it.
I got a great question from Daniela, and it's something that I was curious to myself.
Yeah.
So do you typically have the vendor ship blind, meaning it's shipping blind straight to your customer,
Mhm.
or do you prefer to have those come in so you can do that QCing yourself? What's your preference? And do you ever find that after you work with somebody long enough, maybe your preference changes?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I ship blind when I'm shipping directly to my customer. If I'm shipping to a home address or to a company address that is going directly to my customer, I'm shipping blind.
And you trust that? You don't have to bring it in first to double check?
I won't do that. And the only reason I don't do that is because I know the customer it's going to, correct? And then I also know the vendor that is shipping it. So I'm trustful of the vendor that is shipping it, that we've never had problems with them shipping blind. And then I'm also trustful that the customer that I'm sending it to won't freak out if something is wrong.
So it's a newer customer and or a newer vendor. You're not going to do a blind ship. You're always going to buffer in some time to actually do some in-house QC, possibly repackage and then ship out from there.
Totally. Yeah. Whenever we ship things to the warehouse, it's never blind because it doesn't need to be. And if it's like a ground kind of pickup, so someone coming in from around the area that's going to pick it up, we will double check, make sure it looks good, and be on our way. But I only ship blind straight to customer when I can trust the supplier.
Got it. And then Victoria's got a follow-up question to that. What does the spoilage percentage usually look like on something like this? So industry standard spoilage is kind of different numbers across the board for decorated apparel as well. I know that the industry standard is realistically usually about 3% per decoration in the screen printing world.
Yeah.
I've seen as high as 5%. What does it look like in the promo items world? What is that? Can you, if you have a 3% or 5% spoilage, are they going to even care when you come back saying, oh, one of these is broken? They're like, too bad, right? What does that look like?
Yeah. It's more closer, I think, to 2 to 3%. And also it depends on the order quantity, because when they're pushing out 10,000 tumblers, like, you're going to have a good chunk of them that are messed up. But maybe 20, 25, I would probably guess one, like at most, and sometimes never at all. But you can also write down on your PO for spoilage or for like over or under, so that you can pay for, okay, if we're not getting up, if you're ordering a huge amount, like 10,000, and they're buffering it. So if maybe you get 9,800 versus 10,000, or you're getting 10,200 versus 10,000, like there's a way for you to say, I'd rather go 10,200 than 9,800 and possibly have some broken. So it gets a little nitty gritty there when you're dealing with huge quantities, but I would say for smaller quantities, anywhere between 25 to 500, you're going to have at least 2%.
Gotcha. That's great. I appreciate that. So I've got another question. And by the way, everyone in the questions, thank you so much. You all are doing great. Abby Williams has got a question. And this is all about transparency. This is a good one. Do your clients know you're ordering from other vendors and suppliers, or are they under the impression that the promo products are being done in-house?
I always tell my clients that I'm ordering from my supplier. Like, I'm working with the supplier. So they know that I'm not the one that may be giving bad news to, like, possibly. Okay. So like, let's say a supplier tells me, you know what, this is going to be late, or like, this color doesn't look great. My supplier told me that this was going to be late. Here's what we can do. And that's true. So I'm always going to tell them, hey, I'm ordering from somebody else. We don't do these in-house, but we do screen printing, embroidery, DTG, all that fun stuff. So I don't think it's a bad thing to tell somebody that you're ordering from someone else.
No, I agree. I appreciate that insight.
Yeah. I think it's a transparency thing. And I also think, it can't do much harm as long as your product's going to come out good.
Absolutely.
I have a question that is related to this, maybe more working with fulfilling the order at first. When a customer comes to you and they have a low budget, what do you do to help set the right expectations?
That's a really good question, because we all know when people want a $3 t-shirt with a 4-color imprint, and you're like, eh. You're like, you want 50 of those? So it goes back to, I guess, your moral standards and what you want to sell. Like, do you want to sell something that's going to break within the first touch? Do you want to sell something that doesn't look good, that maybe isn't what your standards are for selling? Or are you just trying to make a buck? And that goes back to what you think is worth it. When someone comes to me with a small budget or a low budget, I tell them what is possible at that, and then I show them what is possible at a average price for that item. So I tell them, okay, this is what you can get for a $3 tumbler, and this is what you can get for a $6 tumbler. And I show them the difference, and I tell them, look, this is a really crappy tumbler, but this is a tumbler that's going to last you a little bit longer and is not so crappy, and it's a couple dollars more. So I try to show the comparisons. If they're still interested in buying a $3 tumbler that is like not good, then it's hard. It's like, I don't want to sell them that, but that's what they're asking for, right?
I think that kind of goes to kind of like your pillar. And I always talk to shops about this all the time too, is are you the fastest, the cheapest, or the best, right? And you're not going to want to waver from that pillar for any order, regardless of what it might be. If someone says, okay, if you're the best, you're not going to be the cheapest or the fastest oftentimes. So if someone comes in and is like, hey, I want 10,000 of these tomorrow, you shouldn't say yes. That's not your pillar. You want to be the best. You're going to sacrifice a pillar of who you are and what your business does to achieve something that's not really part of what your business model is. Absolutely. So then that kind of comes to kind of qualifying that order, like you're talking about so eloquently, Yaz, but also making sure that you're sticking to who you are as a business, your moral high ground as a business, and what kind of work you want to achieve. Like you said, you're trying to make a buck. Well, then you're not going to be the best necessarily, right? If you're trying to turn a buck, you're going to be the fastest, the cheapest to get things done. So I think it's a really eloquent way to put that. And I'm glad you kind of stepped it out like that.
Yeah, we get a lot of people coming to us asking for something and saying, oh, well, on this website, it's this price. And I'm like, well, on our website, it's this price. And here's why, right? And I let them know, okay, because you're looking at this website, they're not including the setup fee. They're not including the shipping. You're not going all the way to the end to where it says checkout. And I'm telling you, here's what it's going to cost for us to do all of this. And if you don't want to support a small business, then go ahead and go to, wherever you wanted to go and get that cheap price for. So.
Actually, let me ask you this, speaking of prices, do you guys have a set markup percentage on a good, or does it depend on the good? Does it depend on the customer? How do you figure out how much you're marking up the product?
Yeah, depends on the item. So in a net item that costs about $50, we're not going to charge them $100 for that, right? I feel like that's insensitive depending on how much and how many or the design and whatnot. So on a higher end item, I personally like to gear towards a 60% or a 40% margin. And on a lower end item, I try to gear towards 50% or 60%, only because there are hidden fees all the time. There is other little things that come up and you're all of a sudden looking at the invoice and you're like, wow, I barely made any money on this. And so charging up a little bit from the price that maybe you're seeing as your net price is always my advice. At my old company, they like to kind of start off with 40% as a base price for marking up. I found that it's never fun to show a customer all of the fees that are included, like separated. I like to squish it all into one price if I can, and then be like, this is the shipping cost, and this is how much it costs. I'm not going to upcharge you on shipping. But that way it's all one cost. And so they're not like, what's this run charge? What's this setup? Like, what do you mean less than minimum fee? Like, it's easier to just to show a customer and be like, hey, this is the one price and here's the shipping. Done.
Awesome. Yeah, that makes sense to me. We've been talking a lot about customers, but I got to ask this. How do we find these customers? How do you guys find people looking for promo products? Are they people who are otherwise, and specifically at Campus Ink, are they people who are otherwise apparel company or customers, or are people coming in and saying, hey, I want some pens, or are you marketing toward just specifically getting promo product customers? Tell us about how you guys are actually doing customer acquisition.
Yeah, we do a little bit of everything, I think. So we do a lot of marketing. We email our customers that use Printavo merch to say we sell promo. What Steven said.
That's a good way to do it. Retarget. If people are using your merch store, retarget them. That they're giving you their email. Retarget. Absolutely.
Oh, all the time. Yeah. I mean, so the people that are buying shirts from us, we're telling them we can also do their pens, their mugs, their backpacks, whatever. But I also work with people who don't know that we can do the things that they are getting from someone else. And when they realize they can get all of what they're looking for on one invoice through one payment, they get really excited. So I think it's letting people know that, hey, yep, we're screen printing experts, but we're also really good at getting you promotional products and custom merch that is different from a t-shirt.
Cool.
Love it.
We've got a few more, but folks, we're getting near. We have about 5 minutes left with Yaz. If you have any questions, yeah, absolutely. There's probably a million more things we can talk about. But I'm looking over at the questions. Daniela has a good one. When you guys are selling an order like we were just talking about, where you're having promo products and screen printing on that order, is that on the same invoice to the customer that you send? Is that all on one invoice, or do you send two separate?
This is such a good question, Daniela. I put them all on one invoice. And the reason being, it's easier for a customer to press pay on one invoice than two. And I find it easier when I'm looking up a status of something, or if I know that, like, okay, they order regularly and I know they ordered their fall collection, but I don't know, like, I'm seeing all these invoices coming in from this same customer. Which one is the one for promo, right? And if I put it all on one, I can find everything. So it's organization. And then on top of it, it's just easier, more seamless for the customer to be able to press pay once rather than twice, so they don't have to get second thoughts and then maybe not pay on time. So if everything is trying to be delivered at the same time, it's all on one invoice. If it's trying to be delivered at two different times, maybe one at one day and then one later, that's going to be probably two different invoices.
Makes sense to me. I wouldn't be a live stream about custom apparel if we didn't ask, how has supply chain issues affected your role? Have you noticed the long delay? Is it harder to order stuff overseas? And have you even noticed the domestic shipping? Well, tell us about the last couple of months. Is it the supply chain issues been affecting you?
Totally. I think it's more of production time because there are not as many people working. And so things are just taking longer. So what is normally a 10-day turnaround is more looking like a 14 to 20-day turnaround. There are items that are going out of stock often, but that's where we are in the world right now. And honestly, it's funny you say that. I think it's been easier to work with international suppliers right now than it is with suppliers within the US.
Is that harder to communicate? Or are you finding it's not as bad as most people's preconceived notions?
I love communicating with like Lulu and my girls over in China. Like, honestly, they're always checking up on me. They're really quick, to be honest. And I mean, they do a good job. Everything comes on time and it's quick, and all of the shipping prices are included in the price of the item for the most part. So I enjoy them, but I only use it for orders where I know I have the time to get everything shipped overseas in case it gets stuck at customs. And then, it's just a more niche type of order when I'm going overseas, but they're great to work with. I love.
Are shipping prices from overseas a little bit higher right now? And just because you're dealing with all the importing messes, or are you kind of finding it's not really an issue for you?
I'm not finding an issue, but that's maybe just personally me. I'm not having a problem with that, but I don't order from overseas often, but when I do, it's usually great. They'll send pre-production proofs. They'll send like pictures throughout the whole entire time, which I love because I'm a visual person. I want to make sure everything looks good. But it's taking into account for a longer time frame of production and shipping and that risk of possibly getting stopped at the border.
Love it. We've got another question in here. Cynthia, what do you forecast for holiday ordering with regards to inventory, shipping, and impact for just super concentrated purchasing during a short window?
I suspect that November, it will be a cutoff. Like beginning of November, you won't be able to get anything in time for December. Like, I'm also just a planner, and I always want to do things ahead of time. But if you're going to try to order holiday stuff in mid-November, there's a very high chance you don't get it in time. I'm just
plan it now, folks. That's what Luke said on our last podcast too. He said, start selling your holiday orders today.
Yeah.
Don't wait until October. Don't just like literally start writing the copy for your holiday orders. You want to get your holiday rush. I know you do. Start today. Start today.
Look at
Okay.
the inventory for everything else right now, and it's going to be worse in a couple months. That's all.
Absolutely. Let's end it on, well, obviously, Yaz has had amazing information to share. We are definitely going to invite you back, Yaz. We really didn't even get to all our questions. There's other questions here, but let's end it on a fun one.
Love it.
What is the coolest or your favorite promo order you've ever produced? Tell us about it. What did you make for the client?
I have a client that is a professional yoga instructor, and it has been her dream to create Oracle tarot cards that kind of have like, daily sayings on them. I've never made a deck of cards in my life. Like, I don't know where to go to for that. And so it was an adventure. I created all of her designs from scratch with another peer. And so we were designing, we were creating the everything. So this was fun. I didn't find the supplier through Sage. I found them on Google, makeplayingcards.com. And
so simple, amazing.
Great URL.
It was like 500 decks of cards. It was at least a 3-month process of just designing, and then about a month of creating and then delivering. And they were great. It was just a very unique item. I've never done anything like that, but she said she wanted them, and I was like, we'll figure it out. So super proud of that one, because it was a lot of months of just wanting to rip my hair out, but also the end product was great. So
I'm glad you kept most of the hair. Mine's going slowly, so you hold on to yours.
Goodness. Yeah, Steven said they're sold in Lululemon in Chicago now, so that's a pretty awesome thing too.
That's huge. I didn't know if he was joking. That's massive.
Oh, he's very serious. Yeah.
Congrats on that. Yes, everybody's already saying in the comments how absolutely incredible this episode has been. Thank you for so much insight. I learned a lot today. I can tell that so did all the people that are watching. Really, really appreciate the insight. We're going to have you back on. I'm not even going to ask you. We're just going to tell you that because I think we got to dive a little more in depth into some more of this and learn a lot. So really, really appreciate your time and all the insight. And I'll make sure Steven knows how lucky he is to have you on the team if he doesn't already. But it looks like he does know that already.
Yeah, thank you both so much. It was a pleasure being here, and hopefully, y'all got something out of this. So
we did.
Absolutely.
We appreciate you.
We do this every 2 weeks, so we're not next week, but the week after we'll be coming back on another topic. If you have topics that you want to see on this show, let us know. You can just email me over at sales@printavo.com. And you can email us about any other questions you have about Printavo or the industry. Just feel free to just shoot it to that email. We'll get to the right place. Thanks again for all of you spending your afternoon with us. It was great to see everybody, and we will see you again soon. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
bye.